Hello everyone. How's it going? Hope you guys are doing really good. Give me just 1 second. For whatever reason, there's an extra slot on my stream. I don't actually know why, but we will move on anyways. Give me 1 second. How's everyone doing today? Hope you guys have had a good trading day. What's up, Sin? What's up, Arda? Lyra, how's it going? Nautilus. So today, guys, we're going to have a look at some of the trades we've taken in the last week. As you know, now is after my trading time. So my trading times is from 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to around 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're now currently at around 11:20 Eastern Standard Time. It was an awesome day. DAX and NAS in profit. Nice, Lyra. How's your guys' trading weeks been? Let me know in the chat. Remember, guys, there's going to be a giveaway in this stream. If you want to get the giveaway, the way to enter is to comment below this video. Comment below the video, not in the chat. Okay, two different things. What you need to comment is something you learned in today's stream or a question that you have about today's stream. You will win based randomly on who gets picked in those comments, right? So you need to comment in the comments below, not in the chat. Okay, and it needs to be something relevant, either a question or it needs to be a something you learned in the stream. Right, so today we did end up taking a position today on NASDAQ. It was a solid setup. It ended up winning the 1-to-2 risk-reward ratio. There was some nuances that you need to understand about the setup that I will explain to you in today's session, because every setup is not always the same and it's not always straightforward, right? And sometimes when a trade comes back to retest our zone, we need to put a few more filters in place to make sure that we're getting the ideal setup. So if you guys don't know already, my trade setup is very simple. All I'm looking for after 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm looking for the break and retest of a range, okay? And I'm looking for price to break out of the range on the extremity of price, which is the outermost range that is created. I'm not looking to take the breakout of these levels here. I'm looking to take the outermost range. So price must break out of the range, either towards the downside or the upside. I'm looking for a break and then a retest of the range. Price then comes down to retest, and I get in to take it on the continuation, right? So essentially, what we look for is a continuation of momentum in the direction that it's broken out towards. Now, what sometimes tends to happen, you need to be careful of this, price breaks out, it comes to retest, just misses the retest and continues further. It then comes back down to retest later on. Okay, now the problem is this: when a trade has overextended, okay, when it's overextended, and I'll show you in a while how to determine if it's overextended, when it starts to come back to retest, it builds momentum on the way down. And as it builds momentum, the chances of it actually holding this zone is lower. So what I like to do is wait for price to retest the level, push a bit under the level, and reject that area before getting in on the trade. Okay, I want to see signs of price pushing lower digging into the zone a bit more and then rejecting, and I can get in once it starts to reject. And that's exactly what we did today. All right, so that is my setup. So if you look at today's setup, this is how it played out in real life. We had this lower zone that we were looking for a breakout on. Now, price opened over here. Our New York session opened over here. So there were no valid breakouts. We also had a news release that happened, I believe, roughly here. Okay. There was a news release roughly here. We were then waiting for price to break and close below this area. You can see that right here on this red candle, price broke right here and it closed underneath this zone. We then had price come back to retest. Okay. Price retested. And as it retested, it had already pushed quite far on this candle and it came to retest. So as it retested, I waited for it to reject the zone. Okay. As it pushed deeper into the zone and rejected, I got into this trade with a 30-point stop loss over here. So you'll note I didn't get in right away as it retested. Okay. I got in as it rejected this zone. And so my stop loss was safe on this particular trade. And sometimes we do get wicked out. It's not always perfect. But in this case, we took it live on stream and we ended up with a full 1 to 2 risk reward trade on this. Conrad asks, hi, Ethan, why did we go with a 25 pip stop loss instead of a 30 pip stop loss? There is quite a lot of imbalance above the entry zone. Thanks. So there is an entry, there is imbalance above this, okay? But the imbalance is separated by efficiency over here, okay? So basically, there is some structure here, okay, that is separating us from this imbalance that happened all the way up here, all right? So where this does pose a bit of a concern, it's not as big of a concern as it would have been had we had an imbalance directly above here that was more obvious with no structure between it. That being said, I would have still reduced risk slightly just due to this concern, but it's not as big of a concern as it would have been. Criticity says there is no comment box open to comment. The comments will open after the stream. So in order to win the giveaway, you need to comment below the stream after the stream ends. And it works that way for a reason. The reason it works that way is so that you watch the whole stream and then you're able to post what you, comment what you learned or a question. So after the stream ends, comment below the stream and that enters you into our 50K account giveaway. We will give away 2 50K accounts in this stream. So, like I was saying, this setup that we had today was not a straightforward setup, but we ended up making it work because we ended up getting into the trade as it retested and pushed into our zone rather than getting in right away. So, just so you understand, if you look at a setup like this, you have your range, right? You're getting in as price breaks the high of the range. Right? You have your entry here. You have your take profit here at 1 to 2. If price doesn't tag you into this trade, okay, basically on a continuation, so if price starts to break here and we start to get ready to get into a trade, all right, what we want is for price to get us in on the continuation so we can continue the momentum up. However, what price sometimes does is it continues almost all the way to take profit. It then turns around to give us the entry, but as it turns around, it starts to build momentum to the downside. Now, what you want to do is cushion that landing slightly by first waiting to see signs of a reversal before you just blindly get in. The only time you can get blindly into a trade is when it's a more shallow break and you're continuing the momentum upwards. You're getting in on a continuation. Because remember, we're not trying to do a reversal, because essentially the way we judge this is, again, if price has already extended almost to your take profit and it starts to turn around, it has actually potentially reversed the trend, and it's potentially going to come down lower. The only way we can decipher whether it has enough legs or it's decided to turn around is if price pushes into your zone, starts to wick out, and push in the opposite direction. I then get in as it shows signs of failure. So that's how I get into setups with this particular scenario. In most scenarios, what ends up happening with my trade strategy is we break this level and we're able to get in straight away and take the continuation. Shark Lover says, hi, Ethan, your strategy works very well. Well, if you put the work in and you collect data, any strategy can work well. This is just what works the best for me. You might prefer to use ICT concepts, liquidity, SMC. All of that stuff actually works. I traded it. I got profitable at it. However, what works for me long term was just trading simple breakouts like this. That's just my flavor of trading. You might have a different flavor of trading. You might want to be more complex and more in depth, look at analysis, create some chart art, have all of these markings on your chart. But for me, I just look at two simple zones and I wait for those zones to break and I trade those. That's it. Lyra asks, do you wait to enter on the 1 minute? Personally, I don't go down to the 1 minute time frame to enter, because on the 1 minute, there's a lot of noise and that can cause a lot of emotional trading and irrational trading decisions. So I just look at the 5 minute time frame. I look at how the wick forms and I get in based on that. Some people go down to the 1 minute and wait for candlestick patterns. And for me, it's a little bit, I get a bit too overwhelmed by that. How much do you risk per trade? Depends on the account. Generally, on prop accounts, I'm risking 1% per trade. That is based on a funded prop account. In evaluation, sometimes I'm a little bit more aggressive. Depends on how much I've got in the account already, how much profit I'm up. It also depends on if I'm in a losing streak, I will usually cut risk, which sounds like an unintuitive way to trade. Because what most people do is when they're in a losing streak, they up risk to try and regain their win, right? They try to get their losses back. And that is when you slip into the habit of turning trading into gambling. Druval asks how to bring up the account from drawdown. Lower your risk. When you're going to drawdown, you start to go into a more emotional zone with trading, right? Your emotions start to peak as you lose on that account. You start to get more stressed. There starts to be more pressure. And under pressure, decisions are usually bad decisions. So you need to alleviate the pressure. How do you alleviate the pressure and make it less scary? Risk less. That's it. Risk less. It seems unintuitive. If you risk less, you're going to get to your goal slower. No? Sometimes you need to slow down so that there's less pressure on the trades you're taking. I had an account go all the way down to 9.8% in drawdown. I took it from 0.2% in drawdown all the way back up to break even, and I took a withdrawal on it. It took me over 8 months to get that there. And that was in the beginning of my trading journey when I had low confidence in my trading. And after those 7-8 months of consistent trading on very small, low risk, I felt like I could do anything. And my trading after that was the best trading I've ever done. And that totally changed my whole trading career. Just because I was patient and I took low risk trades, allowing myself to prove that my edge works long term. How many accounts do you recommend trading or having at the same time? Now, it depends on you. Okay, but I recommend having multiple accounts at least. So at least 2 accounts. The reason for this is because you can use 2 different risk profiles on each account. Meaning, on one account, you might take profit at 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, and on the other account, you might take profit at 1-to-2 risk reward ratio. That's what I personally do. What this means is you get less FOMO because you're always taking something home. Now, what I do is I go 1-to-1 risk reward ratio on my funded accounts that are already past the evaluation stage. The accounts that are in evaluation stage, I'm going 1 to 2 risk reward ratio because I know that's going to pass the evaluations quicker, but I will have a lower risk reward. I will have a lower win rate on those trades because it is a higher risk reward. But long term, the profit comes in faster that way. And it's better for my psychology to have both of those accounts running that way because I'm always taking something home. I'm never missing out. So I don't need to worry about FOMO. How many people are on stream right now? For one of the other reason I can't see, and usually I can see, which is interesting. Hey, what's up, Daryl? I know your username, bro. Why can I not see how many people are on stream right now? Can you guys see? Give me a second. 31. We're also live on X right now as well. So I think there's quite a few people on X as well. Well, if there's 32 people, you guys have a little better than 1 in 15 chance of winning today, which is pretty decent because, you know, and most of you guys won't actually comment below. So remember, to win the giveaway, you guys have to comment below the stream after it ends, not in the chat right now. You have to comment below the stream, leave a question for me, or leave an observation about something you learned today in the stream. Right, so let's have a look at some of the other trades we took this week. So this was the trade we took today, also 1 to 2 risk reward trade. Again, these setups here don't always work out, okay? We waited to get in based on a rejection. We waited for price to push into the zone a bit more before getting in. Usually we would get in straight away, but this particular trade overextended to the downside before retesting. And because of that, we waited for it to push into the zone first before getting into the trade. So on the next setup, previous setup we took, all right, here is that particular setup. So on the 5-minute time frame, let me just check. This was our setup we took now. This was the setup on Thursday. On Friday, we had price run without us, basically. Oh, wait, this was Friday. This was the previous setup. This was Friday. On Friday, we got a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio trade, okay? So we took profit at 1-to-1. So what happened? We broke and closed below. So the candle, remember, must close. We cannot wait for price to first, just to break with a wick. It needs to break with a body and close, right? So you can see here, price broke and the body closed below. Then we had price retest on the very next candle. We got in, and on this one candle, we got to the 1-to-1 place. One of my accounts took profit at 1-to-1, and then we went back to break even, taking out the second account, which got me out at break even. So we got 1-to-1 on this particular setup here. That was on Friday. All right. So you can see here how our risk reward and our risk management keeps us safe. Then this was the setup on Thursday. So you can see it's a very similar thing. Price broke and closed below. Now, some of the people in my community ended up getting in as price broke and closed below. They got in right away because why? So we have a rule where if it breaks and closes just below with about 1 point on NASDAQ, this is about 1 point, you can just get in straight away. I missed that though on the stream. And instead, it pushed all the way down in one candle, went way past our take profit. And when price goes way past our take profit like this, I then invalidate the trade. So not only did it go all the way past our take profit, it created a doji candle here and pushed aggressively in one big fat candle, totally engulfing this previous candle. and it retested on a massive candle like this. And that is a 100% no-go, not even low-risk trade. So we stayed out of that trade. Again, this was all called live, right? Real Huge Ass says, I'm broke, bro. Well, there's a lot of broke people. If you're broke, you need to get a job, bro. At the end of the day, no one's going to make this work for you, unfortunately. You need to get a job if you're broke. If you're broke, get a job, and then use the money from the job to invest in yourself, in your education, in trading if you want. I would, however, advise not to invest into trading at all until you feel confident, until you have evidence that your approach to trading works long term. Because failing that, you're going to lose, you're going to gamble. Trading without evidence is gambling. Trading without data on your strategy is gambling. So, if you want to trade and invest money into your trading, you better have data as evidence to back up your trade strategy working. Not because you need to, but because you will fail at trading if you don't have data. If you don't have evidence, you don't have confidence. Without confidence in your trading, you will have FOMO, you will be greedy, and you will miss trades because you're second guessing your approach. So you must have data to back up your edge. And you must not only have backtesting data, you must have data from real trades you've taken for at least 2 to 3 months. Because that not only proves that your strategy works, it proves that you can handle emotions that come with trading. It proves that your edge works and that your emotions are under control and that you can stick to the rules that you've set out in your trading strategy. Very important. Right, so on Wednesday, we took this full 1 to 2. Well, actually, no, we didn't take this trade on Wednesday. Sorry, I'm lying. This trade was after our trade hours. So you see here, it was quite... No, I'm not lying. This trade on Wednesday was not after our trade hours. I think it was Tuesday that we missed, if I'm not mistaken, guys. If you guys are from the community, let me know. Did we take a trade on Tuesday, on Thursday? I'm now forgetting. Yeah, so this trade on Tuesday happened outside of our trading hours. So we ended up taking a no trade day on Tuesday. However, the trade did play out, but after our trading hours. So this was a no trade day. On Wednesday, though, no trade on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, it looks like we did take a trade, according to my markup here. So we had price break and close above this zone here. And we got a full 1 to 2 risk reward ratio trade here on Wednesday. Once again, same logic. We had this zone where prices bounced off of once, and it bounced off of again, testing that area. We can expand this to include this wick here. We then bounced off of it again over here. We then broke and closed above. We got in, price pushed lower, came up, and gave us the full 1 to 2 risk reward. Yeah, Ola, that was the one for Wednesday. I remember it now. Tuesday, we took no trade. And then I believe on Monday, we took a loss, if I'm not mistaken, guys. Or was Monday a no trade? Let me check. I think Monday was no trade. Or Monday was a loss. Let me check here. Monday was a loss, says Drewville. Let me check for you real quick. Yeah, so Monday's zone would have been this zone right here, more than likely, if I remember correctly. Price retests and then pushes lower. So this would have taken out our stop loss over here. So Monday was a loss with the strategy. We broke and closed above, totally legit trade. The only gaps that we had were right here, which is cool. Our stop loss would have covered it. But price did push lower and come down to take out our stop loss before going up to hit targets, right? Then on Tuesday, we missed this trade because it happened outside of our hours. On Wednesday, we took a full win over here. And then on Thursday, we got a 1-to-1 risk reward. No, Thursday, we got a no trade as well. We sat out of this trade. And on Friday, we got a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio trade. And then today, we got a 1-to-2 risk reward full TP trade. Right? So yeah, it's been a good week for us in my community. Again, just trading breakouts. All we do, we look for a range, we look for price to range after market open, or we look for structure after market open. We wait for price to break that, and then we get in as it retests the range and we take it further. Have you guys got any questions for me? What's up, Bam? What was SL? Have you guys got any questions to ask me? How was your guys' trading week so far? Sin asked, do you trade both CFDs and futures? The answer is yes. So I trade both CFD and futures. There are different pros and cons to trading futures and CFDs. So you have to decide what works best for you. The pros with CFDs is generally that you get a better drawdown rules with CFD prop firms. You get better and more lenient rules overall with CFD prop firms. With futures prop firms, the rules are more strict, but the evaluations are cheaper. So there's a huge advantage there. Additionally, with futures prop firms, there's less restrictions on copy trading. So with futures prop firms, you are able to scale easier than CFD prop firms. With CFD prop firms, generally you can't just copy trade, or there are restrictions with copy trading, which makes it tricky for you to scale. You have to trade these accounts separately. So there are pros and cons to both futures and CFD prop firms. Luckily though, Blue Guardian has futures and CFD prop firms within our ecosystem, so you can choose. Dahina asks, please some advice on risk management. Risk management is all good and well. You have to understand how your brain works before you start to come up with a risk management plan. So if you're the kind of person that can handle having trades run close to take profit and then getting break even and walking away with nothing, then you can have a risk management plan where you have a higher risk reward trade strategy. Okay. You need to understand as well the quality of your trade setups. So one of the things that people struggle with trading is grading their trade setups. So that doesn't mean figuring out whether a trade setup is valid or not. It's figuring out the quality of the valid trade setup. So when you see a valid trade setup, you need to be able to figure out, is that an A setup, an A+ setup, a B setup, or a C setup? Okay, so it's a C setup because of this, and this parameters. Well, in a C setup scenario, I'm not going to take that trade. Okay, is it a B setup? Oh, okay, so a B setup is a B setup because it has this, this, and this parameters. Okay, I'm going to take half risk on a B setup. Okay, so it's an A setup. An A setup, I'm going to take full risk on an A setup. Why is it an A setup? Because of X, Y, and Z parameters. You need to have this clearly written down and follow them like a Bible, like it's your religion. If you can do that, your risk management will be airtight. Floyd asks, can you trade the New York session, PM session, and Asia session with this strategy? You can trade the Asia session with this strategy. There is currently no way to trade PM session with my strategy. There are people that do it though. I personally not collected data on the PM session with my strategy. Asia session does work though. Are Blue Guardian futures accounts available to South Africans? They, at the moment, are not. They're not available to South Africans at the moment, but you can get regular Blue Guardian accounts on the CFD side. When are we giving away accounts? After the stream, you need to comment underneath the live stream, and then you need to comment something that you learned or a question on the live stream, and one of those will be chosen. Subash says he trades Asia session. Look, you need to find a session that works best for you. Okay, if you're trading at work, if you're trading when you've got restricted time and restricted attention span to be able to give to your trading, you're going to put yourself under pressure. If you're under pressure, your decision making around trades is going to be poor, and you're going to take poor trades, which is going to lead you to regretting certain trade setups and then having FOMO. That FOMO is going to lead to you taking even worse trade setups, and you're going to spiral into losing your account. This is the cycle that I see loads of traders falling into. Yes, 9x. So after the stream ends, you comment below on what you learned or a question that you have on our trade, on our session, and you will be entered into the giveaway. AB says, I like New York AM session due to high volatility. Me too, man. It also works best with my schedule. So it's important to find a session that works best for you and that suits your personality as well. If you like to trade high volatility sessions, New York session is really good because you're able to get in and out quickly because there's a lot of volume. It's also, in my eyes, one of the most high probability sessions to trade because there are so many concurrent traders trading at the same time. Remember, London session has kind of overlapped with New York session in a lot of ways. There's kind of an overlap at the open, right? There's still a lot of people in London trading the New York session. So the highest number of people are awake and trading and working, buying and selling stocks. So if you're trading CFDs, if you're trading indices, you're going to want to trade New York session. It's a great time to trade. If you're trading Asia session, you're going to probably be trading forex. You're probably going to be trading a Japanese yen pair or maybe an index, an Asian index. Okay, that's going to give you the best results. If you're trading London, you're probably going to be trading the FTSE, or you're going to be trading a GBP pair, right? Again, that's the pairs that are going to have the most volatility. Yeah, German 40 is also obviously one of our staple pairs to trade at London session, right? Because that's also around the Frankfurt Open as well, right? London also provides good trades for NQ. Yeah, you can also trade NQ in London, just not for my particular strategy, just because I trade purely based on momentum and volatility. There needs to be a lot of volatility. I'm off the charts after an hour. So if I don't get a setup after New York Open for about an hour, then I'm walking away after about an hour. Yeah, if you're trading ICT and you're trading based on liquidity and sweeps and those kinds of things, then yeah, there's a few people that trade NQ during London as well. Just purely because you're trading based on liquidity points. So you can kind of see where liquidity steps in and volume steps in. Once again, I started off my journey trading ICT concepts, and I started my journey off trading SMC. Worked for me really well, but I couldn't sustain it long term, right? There was too many variables to consider on a daily basis. And what ends up happening when your strategy has a lot of variables for some people is that you end up getting decision fatigue, and it's difficult to consistently stick to that edge. So for me, trading, simple strategy that I do works best for me and a lot of other people as well. Yeah, so right now we're roughly 2.5 hours after New York Open. So basically, I wouldn't be looking to take trades right now, just purely because volatility has died down. Okay, New York session volatility will likely pick up in around an hour or two from now during the PM session. Okay, so that's generally when volatility picks up. However, I'm still only going to trade the first hour of New York session, because that's when there is the highest injection of volatility in the market. Anything other than that, and I'm going to sleep. Ganesh asks, what's your biggest profit and loss in a single trade? I think biggest profit in a single trade that I was actually able to withdraw from a prop firm was roughly $23,000, right? And that was on a prop account that I could actually withdraw. I've had bigger profits than that, but that's on evaluation accounts. And this was in the days when there were no consistency rules. So yeah. Yeah, the biggest withdrawal I've done in a single month, well, multiple withdrawals. So the biggest month I've done was over $45,000. Biggest 30-day period. A biggest single withdrawal, I believe, was $23,000. So yeah. Again, though, guys, like getting into trading, you can't expect to have huge months every single month. That's the nature of trading, right? So for me, I'm just hoping to make, between 10K and above every month at least. There was a time when I made my first $45,000 month, and I started to think, oh, wow, I need to do this every month now. And that also starts to happen when you're in the public eye, kind of. People start to have these expectations. Oh, you made a 45K month. Now you need to do it every month. And I started to have that expectation as well. Put myself under a lot of pressure. I still ended up managing to get over 20K withdrawal the following month, but it felt like a failure. So after that, I started to realize, listen, dude, like you're putting yourself under too much pressure. You're doing great. Just take what you can, take what the market provides. Trading isn't like a normal job. You can make a ton of money, but you can also have slow months. But as long as you are green on your months, generally, right? If you can have 10 out of 12 green months in a year, you're doing better than the S&P 500. You're doing better than a lot of institutional traders. So well done. Right? So you need to have realistic expectations. And if you think that you can make over 10% a month consistently with trading, you are delusional. If you're trying to pass an evaluation and pass the second phase of your evaluation in 1 month, you're not going to be able to do that consistently. In fact, it's unlikely that you will do that at all. It's going to take you at least 2 to 3 months to pass a 2-phase evaluation. Conrad asks, can you briefly talk about how you do your taxes as a trader? It's the same as any other business. So for me in South Africa, where I'm based, all I do is register my business, and the profits I make are the profit of the business, and any accounts that I buy, any deposits that I make into brokers, those are expenses on the business. It's as simple as that. That's how I run it. I'm not a tax professional, so I don't know. But that's just how I run it. Again, I think in America, the regulations are different, so you may not want to do it as a business, but I am no expert. This is just how I do it. I run my trading profits through my PTY limited company so that I can write off things like prop accounts, things like deposits into brokers, education. All of those things can be written off as expenses on the business. Okay, and then profits I make on top of that are taxed, and they're taxed lower in South Africa as you are a business entity. And trading is a business. So that's how I do, that's how my taxes run in South Africa. Not advice, that's just how I do it. Alrighty, guys, so the stream is about to end now. As I end the stream, you guys are going to have the option to comment below the stream. If you comment below the stream, you will be entered to win 250K accounts. If you win one of the accounts, you will be responded to. Okay, your comment will be responded to, and you will get instructions on how to claim your account in the comment that responds to your comment. So make sure you check your YouTube to see if your comment got responded to. So I'll repeat this again for you guys. To enter the giveaway, you need to comment below this video after the stream ends. After the stream ends, you'll be able to comment. You'll then be able to enter. So the comment will enter you into the giveaway. The comment must be pertaining to something you learned on the stream, either a question or just talking about one of the takeaways you had from today's video. Drewville, you will get, it depends really. So generally the giveaways on here are for futures accounts, I believe. It should be a Blue Guardian futures account, if I'm not mistaken, Drewville. Alrighty, guys, that was it for today's stream. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. It was nice chatting with you guys and hanging out, showing you guys some of the setups. Again, remember, if you want to enter the giveaway, comment below with something you learned on stream or a question for me, and then you will be notified if you're a winner. Make sure to check your YouTube. So again, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It was great. Thank you for your questions. And I'll see you guys same time, same place next time. I'll show you guys the trades I've taken, and we can go over how I look at the markets and have a nice chat together. Alrighty, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.